I think Sasioka is the most energetic person I know. I've known her for 15, almost 20 years now. I went to high school with her, and I'm a world traveler since I've been born, so I didn't start the school with her, but when I joined in, she saw me the first day, and she goes, "Who are you?" And, I'm looking at myself like, how, no hi, no hello, who are you is the question. And, that just made me be like, who is this person? And from then we would have conversations, and she would always explain to me how we, as Nigerians at the time in Nigeria, right, would always, so she looked at me, I'm lighter skin, my hair is in like, dark as most Nigerians are. And she's like, people look at me and they look at me foreign. And, they're always so friendly towards me because we're so used to importing in Nigeria at the time. That was what was going on. How about we export? And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I couldn't understand it because we're in high school, we're kids. I'm like, what is this girl talking about? So fast forward, I moved to Toronto. She moves here a couple of years later. And then I wake up one morning, and then at the time of social media, Instagram has become a thing, Facebook's become a thing. And I just see people talking about SK Cooks, SK Cooks, SK Cooks. I'm like, what's this? I'm like, okay, I'm going to order. So I place an order, and then it's her showing up at my house delivering food to me. I'm like, what are you doing here? And she goes, I cook now. I've always told you I wanted to export an element of our culture to the world, and this is my way of doing it. And I was shocked.
Hi everyone. My name is Sasilka Odibo ni Shalangwa. I am a Nigerian, born and brought up in Lagos, Nigeria, and I'm now a resident of Canada. So I was born into a very cute nuclear family. We're 4. I have one brother and myself. I lived in Lagos all of my life. I'm from northern Nigeria, Adamawa State to be specific, and very familiar with home. My first language is actually Hausa, which I do speak fluently. One of the major things I always used to get was, oh, you're a Hausa and you're a Christian, how come? My mom instilled severe confidence in her children. And so I did not realize that my ethnic group I was different. I just felt we're all Nigerians. I am Hausa, I am Bura, but I am also a Christian. I don't take it as an identity crisis or a weight. It was more of a superpower. Growing up, we had our early childhood in Festac, and Festac is home to a lot of Afrobeat artists, a lot of sound, a lot of art. So my brother was in that mix a lot. I followed them to the studio. I saw them evolve into what they are becoming today. I was exposed to that scene very, very early on in life, and I just understood that, okay, people are making money. They're hustling. And then for my mom as well, coming from where I came from, I'm from the north, women are second-class citizens and always subjects. Sorry to say whoever this is going to offend. So seeing a northern woman go out, do her job, make her own money, and be submissive and obedient, but manage to do that so well, that really inspired me daily. To see her be able to just be bigger than what she's expected to be. She allowed Lagos to do that to her because my mom had left the north and had come to Lagos. She was a banker, she was networking and meeting people, and that was already a taboo. In the north, you don't leave your parents' house before getting married. It's not allowed. So for you to do that, you're already breaking some kind of boundary, some kind of barrier. Being in the city, being an overachiever, as you would be called, is what she was. My mom was a restaurateur, is still a restaurateur, and now a school owner. And so growing up, I watched her have her own business, from 1 restaurant to 2 to 3 to 4, consistently growing while we were in Lagos. So I thought to myself, okay, so this is the way to live. Seeing them be a part of it made me feel like, okay, you know what, this is how to do things. You wake up, you figure out what to do, you make more money, you move on. And that really just made me realize no matter where I am in life, I'm responsible for myself. So close to Toronto, some of the best decisions I ever made in my life. I went to Avicenna International School in Ikeja, GRA. I was the head girl in Avicenna during my time of school. So naturally, we wrote IGCSE, which is the British exams, to cross over to go to England. But at the time, I just felt like I did not want to go to the same school with everybody that I had just been hanging out with for the past, 5-6 years. I knew that life was bigger than Nigeria. I just knew. I find that no matter how much money Nigerians have, our educational system is damaged. And beyond that, I'd say secondary school education, there's literally not much for you to plan for. So a lot of Nigerians who are middle class and above always plan, even lower class, plan for their kids to go abroad to complete their education. So that was always part of my plan. And I wasn't sure at that time who I really was, gunning to become or what it was going to be. But I just knew that to flourish, I needed to leave that country. And when I found out about Canada, I didn't know that, there was a quick pathway to immigration. And then when I started doing more research and I realized, I became convinced. I was like, I have to go to Canada now because guess what? This is my pathway out of here to just become me. Dad was heavily under the impression that I was coming here to be a doctor. So now I'm thinking to myself, if I want to be a neurosurgeon, the whole chart was about 12 years for me to complete that. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do it. I don't have 12 years. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew that I was going to do something. But the opportunity and the option to be able to do something does not present itself back home. So that being said, I went into York University instead of University of Toronto as an undecided major in 2013. So I began to understand how to play the game of life, in lack of a better word. So I understood that being independent and living alone came with different set of rules. I had now left home. I wasn't really in the system. So I always explain to people, when you go for a holiday for a month, for 2 months, for 3 months, that's a holiday. When you live somewhere for 2 years, then you're part of the system. So don't ever assume that the London you go to and take cute pictures is the London that the people that live in London are living in. So being here, I had to immerse myself into the system. I had to let go of everything I understood from what life is like in Nigeria, what the educational system is like, what the financial system is like, what the healthcare system is like, and just immerse myself into my new Canadian life, as I would like to call it. The most important and number one thing is when coming here, having your vision clear, right? As much as I said I did not know I decided not to go to med school, I kind of had a plan. I wanted to go to med school. When I did not want to go to med school, I had a plan. Now, having a plan comes with being very, very timely and very organized. You have to be organized to be in a developed country because everything is on a schedule, is on a time, it's on a plan. That's not the same in Nigeria. In Nigeria, we wink our eyes and magic happens. I don't know how it happens, but it does. But here, it's very rare for you to maneuver your way through situations. So getting that awareness quickly, I understood, okay, I'm getting with the times. Now, what does it mean for someone not to tell me to turn in my homework? Because now I'm not in anybody's care anymore. I'm now responsible for myself. So as of the age of, I believe, 16, I created something called Disrespecting Myself Table. So I had to respect myself because I didn't have anybody that I was accountable to. So when I disrespect myself, I get a demerit from myself because that simply means that I was supposed to do something that nobody will be able to yell at me for, but it would affect my life eventually. And that's one thing you learn eventually when you live abroad is that every little thing you do today literally counts and tallies up until the next 5 to 10 years of your life. For example, owning a credit card, getting a mortgage, getting a car, or even a student loan. As little as that affects your life as it goes. So I think it's very important to sensitize yourself with the new environment that you're in. Adhere to the rules, understand how the game is played because every society is different, and immerse yourself into that culture. I think that really helped me with, naturalizing as a Canadian entrepreneur.
Hello, my name is TJ Ballo. I'm based in Toronto, Canada. I've lived here for 13 years. I went to high school and university in Toronto, and I'm a marketing executive. I think Sasilka is the most energetic person I know. I've known her for 15, almost 20 years now. I went to high school with her, and I'm a world traveler since I've been born, so I didn't start the school with her, but when I joined in, she saw me the first day, and she goes, "Who are you?" And I'm looking at myself like, how? No hi, no hello, who are you is the question. And that just made me be like, who is this person? And from then we would have conversations, and she would always explain to me how people look at me and they look at me foreign, and they're always so friendly towards me because we're so used to importing in Nigeria at the time. That was what was going on. How about we export? And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I couldn't understand it because we're in high school, we're kids. I'm like, what is this girl talking about? So fast forward, I moved to Toronto. She moves here a couple of years later. And then I wake up one morning, and then at the time the social media, Instagram has become a thing, Facebook's become a thing. And I just see people talking about SK Cooks, SK Cooks, SK Cooks. I'm like, what's this? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna order. So I place an order, and then it's her showing up at my house delivering food to me. I'm like, what are you doing here? And she goes, I cook now. I've always told you I wanted to export an element of our culture to the world, and this is my way of doing it. And I was shocked. I was like, how did we go from being in high school, just playing around with this, to you actually turning it into something I can physically see?
SK Cooks was registered in, I believe, 2016 in Canada. I started from a home kitchen, started from the need to fill in the gap for students in the diaspora, new families, immigrants who missed home in terms of food. So 2017, friends' parties are happening daily, and my friends are like, you have to make this a business. You can't keep making all this food for us to eat without a business behind it. Like, it's cute, we love you, but you should do a business. But the trick about it is that people did not know I was SK Cooks. So this was a brand by itself that I felt needed to have its own life, because as you remember, I was basically rebirthed in Toronto. I came here at 15. We met a new Nigerian community here. We met a lot of different people here. So I really wanted to take my person out of the brand and allow people just grow with the brand itself. So we opened an Instagram page and we started taking orders. I had a niche market I was targeting. At that time, it was younger Nigerians who were either in university or graduates who were complaining of spending a lot of money on food. So I thought of bulk orders. This was a weekly meal prep plan that allowed them to spend a minimum of $100 and be able to fill up their fridge with Nigerian food of their choice. You grab it to take it to lunch for work, eat it for dinner, or whatever you please. So that was how we started. After a year of starting the bulk orders, we had our menu, we were doing catering and stuff like that. We started shipping. We started shipping our food outside of Toronto to the United States of America, to Ottawa, to Calgary, to other parts of Canada, frozen, packed, and delivered in shape and intact. Because at this point in time, again, like I keep saying, there was not a lot of Nigerian food vendors. So there was a demand for this. Nigerians were saying like Eforiru online in Canada. They were saying like Bomo. There was no stories of snail. I was the only one who had snail. So things like that were exotic, and they were seeing these on their screens on Instagram. It looked yummy every day, and they were able to order and stock up their fridges. So that's how we started SK Cooks.
At the time, this was in 2016 thereabouts, Nigerian food wasn't as popular. So I'm like, how do you convince, because we're in Toronto, in Canada, how do you convince people in this community to support you, to taste Nigerian food? Because now they can meet you and they can say, oh, you're sweet, you're friendly, or whatever, but now you're telling them, taste Nigerian food. So when I saw that she was gaining momentum in the Nigerian audience, through like different universities, their campuses and stuff, and I said, okay, now target Africans, Ghanaians, Tanzanians, Ethiopians, Somalians, everyone who's African in Toronto should taste your food. Because you find that as a continent, our meals are similar, they just have different names. Maybe one or two ingredients are different as well, but you find that most meals are similar. So I told her, I said, you're not cooking anything out of the ordinary that no African isn't familiar with. target all Africans. Because at the end of the day, if you tell me that your goal is Nigeria to the world, you can't stop. As long as you're promoting, as long as Nigeria is not stopping and Nigeria as a country still exists, you still have to continue. That's what I believe.
We opened our location in Etobicoke in 2017. When you move into a new territory, you have to, I would say, create options that are familiar to those people. So West African food wasn't as familiar, but people were familiar with Caribbean food. And I do say that our spices are very familiar. So we had to find a way to create a fusion for the first restaurant. So now we're moving away from bulk orders. We're moving away from just, making specifically Nigerian food and shipping out to Nigerians. We're saying, okay, we're moving out of this. We're moving into a physical brick and mortar location, and we're actually ready to serve Canadians, to bring them into our culture. The closest people to Nigerians here, I would say, are the Caribbeans, and that's one of the things that people are very open to try. So items like jerk chicken, rice and peas, curry and stuff like that were a staple on our menu as far back as 2017 in the first restaurant when we opened, in addition to our staple Nigerian dishes, just to create those options so that we could get the best of both worlds. So that was successful and great, and we ran for the year, and we ran till another year actually. So I believe December of 2018 was when the failure of the business occurred, because I was defrauded. I was defrauded by the person who claimed to be the owner of the location, who sold the business to us, and of course the chattels that were in the business. And in December of 2018, the owner of the business, the owner of the location did arrive, and was very surprised that renovations had taken place in his location. He was a foreign buyer who had this person, caretaking the location for him. And as a restaurant, we had definitely altered, what this place had looked like. We had built an office, a dining area, and kind of moved it around. So upon returning, he never knew it was even going to be a restaurant. So this led us to a legal battle, which we eventually lost, of course, because we were, of course, subleasing from this person who had presented as the owner of the space. That was an unquantifiable loss that definitely made me feel very, very sad and depressed. It was a huge loss in terms of my life. As of the time where I had decided to be an entrepreneur, my peers and I had just graduated university. Everybody was young and happy and free, going on holidays, starting out new careers, and just being young and free. And I had tied up my entire existence into this business, and I did not have a life. I did not really have anything going for me apart from the business. So losing the business itself kind of felt like losing my identity. And beyond me, it went into my team. People's lives now depended on me. People's house rent, people's children depended on me. And it was beyond just losing the business. It was losing people's livelihood as well, dashing their hopes, sort of putting people back on EI, and then also dashing my parents' hopes and making them feel betrayed for trusting me. This obviously, as a Nigerian, if you're watching, is something that no Nigerian family friend will support. For anybody to give their little child that kind of money to start running a business in the diaspora that they're not supervising. All I've known is to do business. And so for once, this is something I don't have control over. I've offered the rightful owner, okay, you know what? Let's just continue the lease, let's just move on. Let's ignore this guy. I'm actually willing to even lose all the money with this guy, and let's just act like this did not happen, and you just continue to rent out this space to me, and then I can just have this business. And this guy's main problem is this was never even meant to be a restaurant. So we can no longer continue this agreement. So I think for the first time, that made me become an adult. And then I vowed not to do a restaurant again, actually, because I was finally free of the shackles. I could have a normal life like everybody else. And when I started working downtown as a business analyst, I went on Uber Eats and there was no jollof rice downtown. So I started having a bad bug, a savior bug, to bring jollof rice downtown. I just knew that I'm unfortunately tied to this unholy bound of me and spreading the news of jollof rice. Because why have I escaped from this business? And I have now come and started thinking about this business day and night. Downtown is the core of Toronto, for anyone listening, and it's pretty much where culture meets diversity. Everything that you want to reach a Torontonian should be done downtown Toronto. So I felt like if we're not being represented downtown, then we're not really infiltrating the culture. But most importantly, everybody in Toronto needs to know that Nigerians are here, and that was what was on my mind.
I will tell you, the restaurant business is not an easy one for sure. If it wasn't for her drive, if it wasn't for her determination, if there were so many times, like, you know, at every hurdle when we hit a pothole, I'll be like, okay, this is it. We have to stop now. This is where we pump the brakes. And then I would see her, that breaks her down because, you know, she's really fighting for something. She's fighting for all of us. You know, she's fighting for the community. Hi, my name is Peter Odibo. I'm Sasa's husband, and I've known Sasa for about 3 years now. And we recently got married. To be honest, it's not like I was looking for an independent woman, but just seeing somebody that driven and determined to make a difference in the community was what attracted me to her. So I used to buy food from her just like every other customers. Her attention to details were just immaculate. Like, there was no spillage, beautiful packed. So most amazing thing I've seen, like, in terms of detailing, right? And you know, how she would invoice you and how she would make you feel at home. And you know, we had an arrangement where, like, we would pick up weekly, and you know, she would even have someone from her team reach out to me and ask me, you know, just to reconfirm my orders and all that. And I would say it was a wonderful relationship. The food also was good, it was yummy and all that. Yeah, that's my Sassy.
When he came into my life, interestingly enough, I was in a space where I was deciding if I wanted to go back into the restaurant business or I wanted to continue being a business analyst. And I also was not looking for a husband. And then he came into my life, and I always say to everybody, give it structure and give it a meaning. I was a very good entrepreneur in terms of understanding the menu, the business, and all of that. And when I met him, the restaurant wasn't open. And when I moved downtown, I kept having that bug again, which I do, where if I don't see jollof rice on Uber Eats, I start feeling like I need to be the one to bring jollof rice there. So I was downtown working, and I said, there's no jollof rice downtown, but I'm scared. I don't know if I want to deal with another restaurant. And he motivated me and thought, if you want to do it, let's try something. Let's try a pop-up in the summer. Let's try something small. Let's see how it goes. And if you like it, we stay downtown.
And after the first 6 months, I saw the numbers, and I you know, encouraged her. I was like, hey, we can't do this like baby style. We have to really put our foot on the ground. And she did. We looked for a place. The price was ridiculous, but we had faith in our community. We had faith that, you know, once the community saw what we're trying to do, that, you know, they would support the movement, which, you know, made SK today. It's a roller coaster of emotion for me, because while I like to see her win, I know I lose her more, because I would prefer she's a housewife. I'm not gonna lie. That's, you know, I'll have to spend more time with my wife, but because I know, like, I'll be doing the community a disservice by just keeping her to myself. You know, sharing her with the community, in the sense of, like, you know, having the first Nigerian restaurant downtown Toronto was something our community needed at the time.
This was when my husband began to play the most instrumental role in my life, where he started to take charge of structuring what the finances of the business looks like. A very big problem we have in our community is we do not have a lot of documentation. We do not have a lot of ropes for you to follow. We don't have a lot of industry leaders who are willing to share. We also do not have a lot of mentors who are available. So I didn't have a lot to follow. But he is a very experienced businessman. He's also a business analyst as well. And we were able to sit down and put together a root cause. So what would have happened to our first location, coming to the second location, doing those insane numbers and deciding we need a place downtown. And I always say he's my greatest teacher. He really does put in the structure, puts in the time, motivates me to be better, to do better. And as always, I say this is not a business that only one person can do. We're open 7 days a week, minimum 14 hours a day, and running through at least 20 employees on payroll. So I find that between that and building the brand as a restaurant director, I did need some help. And my husband has really balanced that out. He's been very helpful, very supportive, and very innovative.
Toronto is a growing community, it's a growing hub, and just looking at it even from a global scale, when you find that someone's doing something that you started, that means you're doing it right. Because you've been able to convince someone to take from your book and start their own. That instead should be a motivation to say, okay, the competition has come, let's now run this journey together. It's better to know that, okay, if you're not going to Tunde, you're going to Ola. So SK Cooks might have inspired what you're doing, but the fact that you were able to start your own would push you to go within your journey, whatever that is for you. So it can even be the same cultural food, it can be the same, business model, etc. But why are people buying into you?
And I think that the point of having this restaurant downtown was to show that a young Black woman like myself can migrate from Nigeria, come to Toronto, Canada, and open such an establishment and be successful. So for me opening, I anticipated a lot of other people were going to follow footsteps, which they did. They've opened up so many other Nigerian spots in Toronto, downtown, which are amazing. Not essentially core as close as to us, but around us. And people now have more options. When we joined Uber Eats, we're the first restaurant to create the category for Nigeria in 2017 when we opened our first Etobicoke location. As of then, there was no category for Nigerian restaurants in the whole of Toronto or GTA. Upon moving downtown in 2020, SK Cooks filed an application to Uber Eats to ensure that Nigeria has a category as a cuisine on Uber to reflect our culture and our people's food options for other customers to see. Upon doing that, shortly after, I believe probably a year after or so, we did see a couple of other Nigerian restaurants come up into that category, and we've seen a lot of them open up, which excites me. I do want people to have options. And to your question, how do we deal with the competition? Competition is welcome, it's amazing, it's lovely. It keeps us on our toes. I always say this, there's so many women in the Nigerian market selling tomatoes, side by side. Everybody has their customer. Everybody knows what they love about this specific tomato vendor. So when you go to a restaurant, you have something on your mind. I'm pretty certain there are people that love SK Cooks for maybe suya, and they love another restaurant for ayamashe. Or they love SK Cooks for jollof rice, and they love somewhere else for something else. So what we've done is we've carved out our niche, our star menu items that we know that these are SK Cooks staples. Our puff puff is one of them. Our jollof rice is, one of its kind. And we've made sure that we have these specific menu items that no matter where you go, when you smell that, you know this is an SK Cooks product and you know you're craving SK Cooks. So once we have that niche market, I don't worry about people looking for new flavors. I look for new flavors too. I'm actually a flavor connoisseur. I love going around to look for new flavors. And if there's a new Nigerian, West African, or any restaurant, be rest assured I've eaten there. I try out their flavors, I try out what they're doing, and I even seek to see how can we actually further these businesses? How can we help them move forward by sitting on the board for Black Food Sovereignty in the City of Toronto, providing support for Black businesses as well to become what we are today. So SK Cooks actually launched a foundation last year here in Canada, and I did launch a foundation back home in 2019. And what that foundation back here in Canada does, it's called SK Cooks Foundation, is we've merged ourselves with high schools, like the high school that I came to, like Bronte College, Great Lakes, and stuff like that. We're working with the Nigerian students who come into school there to give them internship opportunities at the restaurant. This allows me to mentor them, give them work opportunities, but then begin to expose their minds to the limitless possibilities of who they can become. So I find that in the environment we grew up in, we're not allowed options, and we're not allowed to believe that we're exponential or we can do more. So having this foundation has allowed me, I would say, sort of mentor them, open their minds to see the possibilities that I saw. So I'm able to also relate with them because, again, I came here at the same age that they're in, or, a bit younger, but through the same processes. Another thing that I've done is I've gotten them to work. Nigerian children do not work. In Nigeria, it's not a culture for us to work until you finish university. So we don't have a work culture and experience or a sense of responsibility for how to show up to work, how to take your job seriously, or how to just be an independent adult. So you find that when they come here, they falter because they're not used to responsibility. So when they come and they have a job, that's your first sense of responsibility. I remember some of the kids coming into the kitchen and going, "These pots are so huge. Like, is this how you guys cook?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you and all your friends eat here. Where do you think the food is coming from?" And that's the first time they've actually seen a pot so huge. And then when they lift it and they walk all day, they're super tired. And you start seeing them saying, "I'm not going to take an Uber, I'm going to walk because all my money yesterday finished on Uber." Now you're understanding that Uber is equating to 1 hour pay, right? And you're now understanding the dynamics of the value of the dollar that you're earning versus the time that you've put into work. So I think with the foundations, we're able to renew their minds, make them see like limitless opportunities. We've also started working with a lot of interns in Nigeria who do administrative roles, who were working to bring to Canada to continue that journey here with us. And I've been able to catch them, Nigerians say, like, catch them young, when they're young, and explain to them that, listen, I know that you've come here for high school, but this is not high school. This is real life. And real life starts here and starts now. My workforce is a very important part of the business. As you know, there's no business without a team, and we currently have 15 people on our workforce who work back of house, front of house, and operations to ensure that the engine is running. So the back of house team are the team that produce all the meals that you get to enjoy at SK Cooks, and retaining them had been a very big struggle because we find ourselves in the diaspora, which is Canada, and the people here were not used to the culture. So we looked into a process called LMIA after 5 years of running SK Cooks, trying to gain stability and consistency for our customers. We decided to keep the team homegrown. We decided to keep the team Nigerian to produce authentic Nigerian meals. Although we have our recipes, we find that when you're homegrown, you produce the meals even better. So we started looking into bringing in our community. I'd learned from other businesses that they also help their community by bringing their people in to produce the meals that they call authentic, national meals. So looking into that, I reached out to a couple of restaurateurs in Nigeria. We started looking at professional restaurant workers, pastry chefs, different kinds of people that can come and add value to the restaurant chain here in Canada. So upon bringing them in here, what we also had to think about is where these people are going to live when we bring them in here. What kind of wages are they going to be making? And how do we make their naturalization into their new Canadian life as SK Cooks employees, but also as Canadians, easy for them? So we've looked into housing, we've looked into, getting them phones, plugging them with their bank accounts, just stabilizing them and setting them up for what their Canadian life would look like. And just apart from, work, essentially, I think that people need to know that when you have a team, you have to treat your team like your family, or else you don't get the best out of your team. So find a way with your HR to make sure that your team feels loved and important to the business. Bring them in. It's valuable. So I can boldly say that all of our workforce right now is currently Nigerian and all Black, and that's the team that I'm currently working with. We do have a virtual team of Nigerians who we work and train in operations role, and after a year of working with us and in our trust and showing exemplary roles after 3 reviews, they actually get migrated to Canada as well through the LMIA process. Upon arriving here, I would say that a lot of the people we have brought here was more so because we felt like they needed the opportunity to have a new life. And in Nigeria, they call it JAPA, which is what we're doing here. If you give somebody the opportunity to JAPA and you have a plan for them to be successful where they go to, it makes all the difference. A lot of people JAPA without having a plan, but we here ensure that they already have a plan before they get here. We're very involved in sorting out their accommodations. We're picking them up from the airport. We're very involved in providing references for them to get bank accounts. We're very involved in providing references for them to get anything that they need to get. We stand as their employer and also their guarantor for the period of 3 years that they're entitled to work with us. And of course, after 3 years, it's optional if you choose to continue with the SK Cooks family, or if not, you can choose to start something new. A lot of them have discussed with me opening an SK Cooks franchise where they lead. These are the kind of goals and dreams that we fuel, seeing people in our community leave Nigeria, come to Canada, stabilize. Some people have been here, I believe they started in March, and so far so good. We have about 4 people now. We're expecting 2 more people to join them. So having these people and seeing them want to be exemplary in a way to take the brand to another location already motivates me to want to do more for my community, to want to bring in more people and train them. And this would bring a lot of ROI on our economy in Nigeria as well, because once we have these people empowered here, we also have a system where we're empowering their family members. So we make sure that you're self-sufficient in Canada, and whatever it is that is left over from your sufficiency, we also make sure, for example, like your family is taken care of. Most importantly for me, it's always health, not an endorsement, but there's something called Wella Health, and we've connected. It's for people in the diaspora to help their loved ones. Whatever money that they're getting, it's only for medical health. So that money literally directly goes for their older parents, for their medical health directly. They don't have the option to use it for anything else. It's just healthcare. Now, understanding what we've done with this is that you have somebody here that is now being taken care of, that their parents' health is being taken care of, and by just default, everybody around them gets involved in the financial and I would say emotional benefit that comes with them leaving Nigeria and coming here to work and naturalize with us. And I'm very wary of calling myself a mentor because of just the environment that I find myself in and people's approach to learning, specifically Nigerians. So I never tell anybody no, and I never tell them not to do what they set out to do. I always believe that every adult has a calling and they know what their calling is. And my #1 belief system is failure is the best teacher. I don't think that we would have been where we are today if I didn't fail the first time, to be very honest with you. That really changed my mind, changed my psyche, my mindset on how to approach my business and how to run a successful business. So is it fair that you have to learn by yourself? No. But if you're the kind of person who chooses that 3 months after training at a restaurant or any industry that you find yourself in, you feel you're a master of that industry and you want to do your own thing, I would always encourage and support you to try. And when you fail, I am that person that would always be there to welcome you back and pick you up. This product that we've taken on to share with Canada and the diaspora is something that is very unique. And it's a baby and it's growing daily. Once this baby is walking, I'm fine. I feel like I've done enough because again, like I keep saying, this business was not built for me to make money out of it. It really was just built to put Nigeria on the map through food. Create a space where Afrobeats and jollof rice can thrive together. Once I go to every city and there's jollof rice on the Uber Eats, I think I'll be okay.
We are very nice. Our boss, Mr. Sasa and Mr. Peter, they are wonderful people. They are very good to work with. We do African delicacies, especially the Nigerian ones. We have the efori roll, okra, egusi soup, poundo yam, different delicacies here. So people, when we see our Nigerians there, we feel like we are home, like we are home away from home. It's very nice working here.
When Nigerians and non-Nigeria comes here, they love the food. Most especially our okra. Oh, they love it. I was even wondering when I saw non-Nigerian eating our okra, as if, so they love it. So it's an experience and our food here is so delicious. I can bet on it.